your gifts and talents. The thing that you do best with the least amount of effort. That's generally what your gifting is, the thing that you do best with the least amount of effort. You know how some things, you see some people labouring and they're like, it's hard, but you can just go bang, bang, bang and make it happen. Well, generally, when we're talking about your dream, your purpose, your mission, your vision, this is an indicator of what you're meant to be doing, okay? The thing that you do best with the least amount of effort. And life will bring those things to the surface, all different ways. And, I always used to wonder, okay? I used to wonder. It was like a battle I had, particularly, as a teenager into my 20s, that it was almost like I lived a double life. And I remember at one point, okay, I sort of, like, when I say double life, I had mates that I would, like, knockabouts that I'd drink with and stay up late and play up and all that. There was that life. Then there was this other life where I'd be in the gym. I had mates that I trained with and sparred with and done everything, like that. There was that, and it was like they were just, it was like either group, they didn't know each other. It was like a double life. It was two Gavins, the fighter and then the knockabout. And I suppose, when we're talking about identity, self-image, you can't outperform the way how you see yourself. So there was times I seen myself as that guy who could just do anything. Gifts naturally come to me. And then the other, I remember over a couple of years, it started off, I'd box heaps, and the coach said have a week off, have 2 weeks off, and then that couple of weeks lasted a month, and then I went back, and then I trained again and had another half a dozen fights. He said the same thing, have some time off, and then that lasted longer, etc. There was always that battle. But I remember one time I was about 19, okay, and I thought, I've just got to get away from these mates that I was knocking around with. I've got to get back to the gym. And, I wasn't happy with myself. I was, I knew I had potential, but, I just, all of a sudden I was going to have 2 weeks, and like a year later, I'm still playing up. And I remember thinking, if I could just get back to those mates, if I could just get back to the gym, if I could just get back to that, because always, particularly when you're operating out of your gifts, remember, the thing you're best at with the least amount of effort. So I just felt good. It was a different state of being. And I remember training a couple of nights, and this trainer, because he'd known me, he goes, listen, if you can train every day this week, I'll get you a fight Friday night. I'm thinking in my head, that'll keep me away from the pub, And, I win the fight. And, basically, I'm heading to the bar, he cuts me off, says, hey, listen, let's do the same thing we done last week, and I'll get you another fight. As it turned, and then, of course, I did that. I went through, I won the next fight. And then I've won 2 fights in 2 weeks, and I'm not even fit. Anyway, I remember, okay, long story short, I ended up, it was a round robin, the state titles and then Australian titles. I ended up coming third in Australia. And in my head, I'm thinking, imagine if I was fit. Imagine if I hadn't have been abusing myself bloody all year, if I had actually done what these other blokes were doing. And by training, looking after themselves, etc. But, after about 3 or 4 weeks, right, there was 3 blokes that basically, they all said the same thing to me in different ways. And they were blokes that I didn't really know that well, but they were like boxing coaches from other gyms and so forth. And what they said was, they said, Gav, you got so much ability, but, in other words, they said, Gav, you got so much talent, where have you been, like, all year, if you had You know, you've got so much potential, but. And I couldn't work out what the but was, because I had this gift and talent when I was on, but then when I wasn't. I was not. So, and I know there's things in you that that things that come easy to you, that you're good at, naturally good at, but maybe you've missed the mark. You go good for a bit and then you don't. And you're not sure. It's kind of a little bit like Russian roulette. Am I going to be able to make it happen or not? Or you always seem to, maybe you got that, that paradigm that you start out strong, but then you always come back. And that's, when we talk about self-image, you can't outperform your self-image. So we need to look at ourselves different, see ourselves different, And I think when we focus on our gifts, our talents, those things that come easy to us that we're good at, our world starts to change. So almost what it needs to happen, I think, we need to focus, what you focus on expands. We're talking about our self-image, who we want to be down the track, who is the man we're growing into, 12 months from now, who is it we see? So that's the guy that we're focusing on. We focus on that guy who we're becoming, the bloke that we can see, the one that you've written down. It's like recently, okay, because we're all unique. You're unique. I'm unique. We're all different. We're uniquely, we're the same, but we're all got that uniqueness that makes us different. And recently, okay, I was at. I went to a physio, been running a lot, and maybe not stretching enough. Anyway, I'm at the physio and I'm thinking, I'm looking at this physio go over me and I'm thinking, and I'm inside this physio thing, and there's nothing wrong with physio. We need physios. I love physios, but then I'm in this room with no windows, okay, in this room that is stuffy, I thought, I would hate to be a physio. I'm thinking, I would hate to be a physio. I remember getting me skin check, yearly melanoma check, oh yeah, you're all good, burn this off, whatever. I'm looking at this doctor, okay, in this little flipping room. Man, it was so small. And I see him every 12 months, they, book you in. I thought, I would hate to be a doctor. So they love it. They love being physio. They love being doctors. There's things that they love that, and this is what this is about, this coming alive, this man alive experience. What do you love? What are you naturally good at? And I know you've been knocked around, because I've been knocked around. Blokes, we've all been knocked around. But if we look at, and this is what this is about, going through an inventory, we've got all right, who we want to become, but then our results do not represent that quite often, So, yeah, but if looking at my past, okay, I remember one time, okay, because it's about discovering your gifts. Because remember, a lot of us have been dancing to the beat of somebody else's drum. We've been doing what parents have told us, what the government has told us, what religion has told us, what the news has told us, okay? And then we end up like, man, this is rubbish. I don't feel right. I can't operate. All those things that I'm good at, those dreams I had as a kid, got squashed, got ripped out of me. So, but I'm telling you, you play your cards right, your past will become your greatest asset, okay? Play your cards wrong, the past repeats itself, and it doesn't stay the same, it actually gets worse. So, but we can draw on the past, okay? And I remember one time when I'm a young bloke, I'm frustrated, it was probably about a year after, when I was about 20 at the time, I thought, I just can't do this, And my dad had swapped a awesome house for a caravan park from him. He's in Melbourne, and he swapped it for this caravan park up North Queensland. He's up there a while. I thought, far out. I got to get up there. You know, this is not working, you know, down here. So I remember my wife, she wasn't my wife at the time, Michelle, she's like 17, and I'm like, 20, and we drive up to 1920, or it was around that anyway. We drive up to Queensland and got this idea, started to meet these people, and they were living in my dad's caravan park, and they were from all around the world. Yeah, I meet people from everywhere. Long story short, okay, I ended up getting this idea. I thought, man, I'm going overseas. I'm going to these places that I'm hearing about. I was actually thinking in my head, maybe that'll knock the rubbish out of me. Maybe that'll make a man out of me. Maybe that'll sort me out. Like a massive adventure or something. And but I remember when we're talking about our gifts and our talents. Those things that we do. That we're the best at, they come easy to us. But sometimes they don't come easy at the start, okay? So imagine me, very naive, okay? I fly to Singapore and I get off the plane and I realise, it hits me, man, I don't even know where I am. I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't even know where I'm going. I don't even know where I'm staying, And fortunate enough, this Kiwi fella grabbed hold of me. He was a seasoned traveller. He must have seen how bloody awkward I looked. And then he ends up taking me to hostel. I got going, etc. Like, I was so naive, right? This is how naive I was. I flew to Singapore, and I actually thought that Singapore was the capital city of Malaysia. I didn't realise it was his own country. Like, you couldn't get any more naive than me at that point. But I remember I can't speak the language. I don't know what the money is. Like, I didn't know nothing. And I remember, like, I had to ask people, how do I do this? How much is that worth? What do I do here? Where am I? All of a sudden, over the period of meeting some other blokes, I realised over a couple of weeks, then over a couple of months, right? I remember maybe about 2-3 months into it, man, I hit my straps. I started realising, man, I'm good at actually meeting people. I'm good at, just friending people. I went over there on my own. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know I didn't know nothing. I had to learn how to talk to people. I had to learn how to get people to help me. I had to learn how to flip and make things happen, So it's funny through that, and that is actually, from that uncomfortable period initially, I actually developed a talent of being able to love people. I created a talent to be able to connect with people, to be able to actually, get some rapport with people, and that was so I say that to say this, that there are things that have brought your best out. There are things that have brought out your not so best. So at this point, right, in your world, in your life, whatever age you are, you can make a choice. Are you going to bring out the good things, the things that you do absolutely best at with the least amount of effort? Are you going to focus on that, or are you going to focus on the things that haven't worked, the shortcomings? Because I guarantee you, man, if you focus on what you're good at, the things that come natural to you, there is something there. That is maybe where you. So I remember reaching a point. I remember saying, I'm only going to do what I love doing. That's, because then because as I went along that thinking process, I actually realised if I don't have a talent there or a gift there, maybe I'm actually not meant to be doing it. Maybe I'm doing somebody else's job. Maybe I'm doing somebody else's thing. I remember meeting this bloke named Fergus, and he was just a phenomenal storyteller. Phenomenal, just, man, you get in his presence, he made you feel special. That's how I felt anyway. As soon as I got around him, all of a sudden, man, You know, he was like that firstborn baby, you know, just your love baby. Well, he was like that guy, but man, he was probably about 130 kilos, big lad. And what he would do is, okay, he was a minister. And what he would do, he was a traveling minister, so he would just go to like, he would visit like 50 different towns, 40 different towns and cities over the course of like 50 weeks in a year, you know. So like he was on the road a lot. And he actually became a mentor of mine. And you know, there was quite a few times where he said, "Hey Gav, I'm down in Canberra, come down for the weekend," or "I'm up in Brisbane, mate, come up and see me. I'm speaking here, I'm doing this," and so I would sometimes, you know, go away with him for the weekend. I just, you know, and then obviously always on the phone to him and so forth, and just allowing him to really speak into my life and just be, you know, he was just like a phenomenal leader, mentor. But what I noticed about him, you know, he used to talk about, you know, your talent, your gift, you know, what comes natural to you, and you know, like. And I would watch him, and I remember picking up one time going to this meeting with him, right? And he, you know, we always get there early, and I just sit there, whatever you need, you know, like water, whatever. And I just wanted to be around him, man. I just wanted to be under his presence, really, and listen to him. And I remember talking to him and said, "Man, everyone loves you. Everyone loves you." You know, and what he would do when he'd go early, he'd always go early to these meetings. What he would do, he would go around. He said, "Watch me." He'd go around. He was genuine, right? It wasn't like but he always loved Jesus. When he needed, for him to perform the best and speak the best, he said he needed to be grounded. He needed to feel love. He needed to feel joy, and then his best would come out. So he'd go to the meeting early, and what he would do is he'd just talk to as many people as he could before it started, before he got called up and asked to, you know, to present, to speak. And what do you guys going, shaking people's hands and just pay them compliments, just point out their good qualities. So that when he got up and spoke, like all those people plus more would just love him, just pulling the best out of him. So when he spoke, it would just draw the best out of him. And you know, like, one thing that I picked up off him, that how he presented to, he said, you know, your gift always worked, because he was a minister, okay, so he was in touch with the supernatural, obviously. You hope so, which he was, but you know, he said that, you know, these gifts that we've got, they're being given to us. You know, the thing that we're absolutely best at, with sometimes with no training, with you know, your past doesn't represent your gift sometimes, you know. And so he would just say he had a gift for making people feel good, for making people loved, you know. And what he would say is that the gift always works, Gav. You can always rely on your gift. So when you're and through this, right, particularly this week, through this gift that you can recognise, the thing that you're absolutely best at, comes easy to you. When you operate in that and you rely, you start to trust in the gift always works. And sometimes it's painful, you know, like when I was in Singapore, Malaysia, then into Thailand, and then over to the Himalayas. All of a sudden I got better at meeting people, right? All of a sudden I got friends all around the world, you know, and this is before social media even existed, you know. So you've got a gift, right? Everyone you know around you has a certain gift. If we can operate out of our gift, because the gift always works, that's where the joy is. Maybe that's the lane you're actually meant to be in. You know, for the longest time, you know, boxing was so good to me, and still is, right? But it enabled different gifts and talents to be good, that I was naturally good at. It gives them a vehicle, a purpose, you know. I'm never too far away from a boxing ring. I love it. I've set my life up, Yeah, boxing has given me so much, but more than that, what it's given me, these gifts and talents, right? Because I know many fighters that have finished their career. I know many sports people that finish their career, right, and think that their gift and talent is something of the past. Well, when you've got something unique in you, man, you can carve a life out of that. You can carve a future out of that. As I said, maybe that's what you're meant to be doing. Maybe you're wasting your time by doing other things. You know, I meet many men that want to do things for money. I've had many people over the years try and copy me, copy what I'm doing. And of course they all fall flat on their face, or they start off trying to copy me and realise that it won't work for them. They actually have to change it to suit them, because God made one Gavin Top and he made one of you. You're unique. So it was a waste of your time trying to copy somebody else. Be yourself, everyone else is taken. I had that sign in my gym for years, and it will never go old. So I really want you to think about, particularly this week and for until you work it out, until you get a handle on it, what's the thing that you're absolute best at, that with the least amount of effort. And maybe if you're married, talk to your wife. If you got some really good solid mates that have known you a long time, talk to them. Talk to get in touch with me, man. I'd love to talk to you. Goodness me. What's that thing? Because you've got it. Nobody is born average and mediocre, but that's a choice. Whether you become average and mediocre or you go after that thing that's in you. Man alive. Come on. Talk soon.